He was a great dad. He was one of the ones like to joke, wrestle all the time. He's so playful. And it's like, you don't want to play, he want to play.
We went out to eat a lot, went out to the movies, just hung out a lot. He just wanted us like to spend time with him.
He was an outgoing dad. He took them where they need to go, events, graduation. We was there together.
He fun, but he embarrassing sometimes. It just his loud voice. Like he'll say some real loud stuff. He was a fun dad though, showing us something that he thought was funny, but it wasn't really funny to us. We was in the car and I had played music and I was making a video. He like, you're not gonna put me in the video. I ain't want to embarrass him because I was gonna put it on social media. So he started doing just crazy stuff. He can't dance. He tried his best, but he can't dance. His favorite move was do this. She was just funny, always laughing.
I seen a change when we lost our mother in 2008. And he had to raise me and my youngest brother and had that really step up and plus raise his two that he already had. He want to own his own business, get him a house.
He wanted us to move in with him. He always wanted us to move in with him. When school came around, he'll take us, go, school shopping, pick out shoes. We'll pick out shoes. Like, you like them? I don't really like them. I'm like, well, I gotta wear them. When report cards came out and I told my grades, he said, you need to work on this, you need to try to do this. He'd take me to the library sometimes, like if I was at his house and I needed to go do my work, we used to like go outside when I get out of school and might play football, or I might go outside with some of my friends, and he might come play with us. He was just at my graduation, he went to my sister's graduation, he went to all our graduation. We want to take pictures, someone want to take our pictures. So he really loved his kids. I didn't know he was in jail until I know he died.
Let's see, his booking screening was done on the 24th at 0:27, so it was just a little after midnight. He was in detox from the 24th to the 27th when the doctor saw him.
Do you remember him when he was down here? Did you have any issues or anything with him?
No, I mean, he did have, when the first time he was down here, he did have bouts of vomiting, but he wasn't.
He was never aggressive or anything?
He wasn't aggressive, he was just like a true, like fussy. Like, he felt crappy.
Yeah.
That's why they put him in the infirmary to begin with, was for observation for detox. That was their term they kept using, detox. And after 3 days, he didn't show any signs of withdrawal, and that's why they went back up to the general population.
But he was still on the detox medications.
Mr. Wingo comes into the detention center with a known history of Pepti's ulcer disease. He was having some complaints that were being consistent with his ulcer. It wasn't until the 28th in the multi-purpose room when he perforated. That night, with a sudden onset of severe abdominal pain to the point where it drags him to the ground and puts him in a fetal position, screaming and crying for help. That's when it perforated, and that's the typical presentation. It's severe, sudden onset of abdominal pain. What happens then? The gastric fluids, which are very caustic and acidic, leak out into the abdominal cavity. That's what causes the pain. Once that starts, every hour you wait from the time of perforation to the time you get care, your mortality rate goes up. This pain is not something you can ignore, and it's sudden, severe, and it's such a dramatic change that people seek out medical care. It's terrible. People will tell you, when you ask them in an interview or taking a history, when did the pain begin, which is a standard question. They'll tell you the exact time. It happened at 11:17 because it's that sudden.
They had a whole conversation and they just kept saying like his ulcer, ulcer. So I guess maybe he had GI issues before. My take was it was something that he had dealt with before because he just kind of knew exactly my ulcers.
So as soon as you went in there to check on him, that's when he said that?
That's when he said that.
Okay, so immediately.
That was his complaint.
Okay, that was his original complaint.
His
was
original
ulcers.
complaint was his ulcers.
Okay.
The pain doesn't go away. You continually leak fluid, and it continually burns and burns until you stop it. And so the pain is severe. As his physical response demonstrated, it put him on the ground in a fetal position, crying and screaming, and that's pretty typical.
He just kept bending over, holding his stomach.
He was holding his stomach. Did he complain of any medical issues to you at all?
He was saying he had an ulcer.
Okay.
When he was telling the nurse when he was laying on the floor. I see the nurse and the deputy Mustafa inside the multi-purpose room with the inmate laying on the ground. And he advised me, hey, he needs to go down.
Infirmary, vet speaking, may I help you?
Hey, Ms. Vet, this is Howard. In 3 South, we have a guy named Wingo, Kevil Wingo. He has been throwing up for a while now, since we came on shift.
You seen it?
Yes, ma'am, I've seen him throwing up.
Hold on, let me look him up.
Need a career? The Cobb County Sheriff's Office has numerous employment.
Did you just call about a patient over there throwing up?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what's the patient's name?
Wingo.
Kevil. Oh, he's on withdrawal check. Did he get his medicine over there tonight?
Not yet.
The pill nurse hasn't come?
No, not yet.
Okay, when the pill nurse comes, can you make, he has medicine for nausea, vomiting, because he's on withdrawal check.
Okay.
So let her know that she can give him that medicine over there.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
He's in distress. I walked in, I looked at him, I asked him what happened. He said that he felt like his ulcer was giving him issues. He was sweaty, but he was just like uncomfortable. Maybe there was something wrong with him because like the sweats and stuff was just like something you can't,
Right.
can't fake.
Infirmary, vet speaking, may I help you?
Hi, Mr. Vet, this is Natalie.
Hi, Natalie.
I'm calling. I'm sending you one down. He's on the way. He's like laying on the floor screaming. He's sweating. He says he's got abdominal pain. Like he's clearly sweating.
Yeah, that's fine.
So he's coming down.
Yeah.
Detoxing. He feel like it's not the detox.
What's his name?
Wingo.
Oh, they were telling me about him. Didn't he get some?
They gave him a Finnegan shot, but he definitely he can't fake this. He's sweating.
So he detoxing still.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just send him on down. I guess he's just gonna be over here overnight.
Yeah, he on the way.
No, peptic ulcer disease is pretty common. All you have to do is go to the grocery store and look at the aisles and aisles of heartburn medication and ulcer medication that's there. It's ubiquitous. With those medications, we don't see a perforated ulcer much anymore.
The first place I would like to start putting up a red flag would be when they brought him in a wheelchair into the elevator and were taking him to the infirmary.
Was he able to stand up in 4 South, or did you guys have to help him into the wheelchair?
We helped him in the wheelchair.
You helped him in the wheelchair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He was saying, I'm not going to make it. I'm finna fall out the wheelchair.
Was he ever acting agitated at you, or trying to resist at all, or did he just appear in pain?
Yeah, just in pain. I didn't see him throw up, but he kept on like he was trying to throw up, but nothing was coming up.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was trying to throw up.
But he complained of an ulcer?
Yes.
And if you look at the man, he is in pain. I mean, you can see that. Now nurses are trained for that. We're supposed to be able to pick that up right away. But any good mother knows when her child is sick. And it's pretty basic, you know. The man was bent over. He had grayish tinge to his face, which would be abnormal. He just looked sick. I mean, there was just no, and he wasn't fighting, he wasn't yelling, he looked too weak to do anything like that. So that right there, I would have said, hang on, and I would have just called the doctor and called an ambulance and sent him out right then. So that's where it should have started, but it did not. It went on for quite a while longer.
Well, I remember when Mr. Wingo came down, he was already complaining of pain. He was complaining of pain in his stomach abdominal area. And the moment we took him out of his restraints, he went and crawled onto the floor himself.
He kind of hopped out the wheelchair and like just laid on the floor holding his stomach.
Okay.
So we just left him there for a minute.
Yeah.
And just see pain was gonna go away, but he just kept holding his stomach.
He did ask repeatedly to be sent to the hospital, speak to a doctor.
Oh, I knew he was in pain because he was sweating like very bad on the floor.
Okay.
At that point, his autonomic system kicked in. He started sweating so profusely. Multiple people there commented on it, how badly he was sweating. Well, you can't fake that.
Did anybody mention to the nurse in the infirmary about the ulcer? Did anybody say anything to her about an ulcer?
Yeah, I did. I mentioned it.
Okay.
He was complaining of nausea, vomiting,
Okay.
and he was on opiate detox.
Okay. And how was his behavior when he came down here? How was he acting?
He was complaining about withdrawals, detoxing, and said he was nauseous and vomiting.
Right.
We gave him some Finnegan for the nausea, vomiting, and we just monitored him.
He spent most of the night awake. I checked on him every security round. Whenever he was in the security round, he was either lying on his bed, kind of in a, not quite fetal position, almost like on his knees crouched over, or he's on the toilet. I talked to him a couple different times. He did ask me repeatedly to go to the hospital. I told him it's not my decision, it's medical's decision. I can't control that. He spent most of the night complaining of abdominal pain. But like I said, I went and checked on every security round. Him in particular, I made sure to actually make contact with. At one point, he did complain that he was throwing up blood. I went in there with the nurses.
I went in there one time because we went in to check him because his roommate said that he was making noise, like yelling out.
Yeah.
So he said that he wanted a red bag for emesis, and he had had some spit on he was spitting on the floor.
So he had saliva all over the place?
Yeah. So he was saying it was his vomit, but he was spitting. So I gave him, he got a red emesis bag.
He had thrown up something. They said it wasn't blood. It looked more like bile is what they said. I gave him some toilet paper.
When someone throws up, when there's vomit, just like any body fluid, it can be checked, and you can find out a lot of information by doing that. It may not look like there's blood in it, but we can do occult blood testing, which is just simply dipping a dipstick into it, and it tells us that there's blood in it or not. So how simple is that?
You have a whole series of physiologic responses that occur. The body starts conserving blood by bringing it into the center of the body, which gives you clammy, cold hands and feet. might also accentuate the sweating. The heart rate picks up because the blood vessels start to dilate. Your blood pressure eventually starts to drop. The body starts an inflammatory response. A good physical exam at this point, you're going to find that he's got a rigid abdomen. It's hard and diffusely tender.
There was no standard of care met all through his stay there. Standard of care goes across the whole medical field. So it's not just a nurse in a jail. It's what do you do for any patient in a doctor's office, in the community, in a hospital. The thing about medical in a jail and a prison is that it's run by the medical providers. They are the ones who set the standards. What is expected in a certain situation by people trained in a certain way? The standard of care says, I just need to act upon what's happening in the situation right now. And they had already diagnosed him as being malingering and faking. Somebody made up their mind that they weren't going to send him to the ER, no matter what.
You come on, you talk to the nighttime charge nurse, and tell me what she told you again about him.
So she told me that the guy named Mr. Wingo, she was going to put him in close-ups because he's been disruptive in the cell. And I said, oh, and she said, he wants to go to the ER. I think he's drug seeking.
Was there anything else that was down there, or complaints that he was down there for?
Not that I know of, no. I just know it was opiate pain. It was opiate detox.
How about an ulcer? Because that's what he went down for, was an ulcer.
Oh no, nobody told me anything about an ulcer.
So how about if that was happening in Fort South and he got sent down for that?
Well, then the officer would tell us. And you know what we say is,
well,
if he is vomiting...
A nurse is the one that sent him down for it because she was there. The pill nurse, I believe. Was it
the pill nurse, yeah, she sent him down.
What, for vomiting?
And his complaint was of ulcers.
Of ulcers. Okay, so that's new to me.
Do you guys normally look through the notes and the charts when
you know
train
what?
shifts?
I normally do because I've got to hand over to the doctor, okay? It was Sunday morning, so I hadn't gone through his stuff at all. I think it was room number 8 and we had other people before him. Okay. But I do go through it normally to hand over to the doctor, you know, if there's anything else.
Wait, you're saying you didn't look at the chart that morning?
I did not look at the chart. No,
okay.
I did not look at the chart.
As his condition progresses, that inflammatory response also progresses. Eventually, the other organs start to get damaged. The heart's revved up. It's generating a lot of activity to try to keep the blood flowing, keep the blood pressure up. Eventually, the lungs are going to start to get a little wet because they're going to swell. That's going to give you that feeling of, I can't breathe. I feel short of breath.
He said, I need to go to the hospital. I can't breathe. I told the nurses, he's saying he can't breathe. And they said he was detoxing, he's fine. He just wants to go to the hospital.
It's a sign that things have progressed. What's also in the abdomen, your diaphragm is exposed there. If that gets inflamed, you don't want to take a deep breath.
And for most of us, we can only go through about 12 hours of not getting out, losing fluid and not taking any in, and we become quite ill. The nurse is supposed to be collecting data. You look through this record and there is no data. There is nothing. I mean, it's pretty hard to really figure out what they were doing. One nurse playing cards on a computer most of the night. That's a problem.
Did anybody physical check on him in your presence?
The nurses?
Nurses.
Yes, sir. The nurses didn't really deal with them.
Nothing was done to try to differentiate what is going on with this man. And the biggest thing that was ignored completely was the fact that his behavior and his level of consciousness changed.
Was any of the times when he was talking, was there anything saying about being in pain?
No.
Because my view of the video is he's in physical pain, and he passed out.
Passed out? Wait.
About 6 times. That's what he was doing when he was getting on the boat. He was passing out. He did it
No.
one time he was standing straight up and he went flat straight back. Boom. And a nurse saw it.
Which nurse?
The one sitting at the front counter. And she looked up. And she
The
said,
tech saw it at the front counter, Tiana. And he fell right back. Nobody told me that. I promise you, nobody told me
he
that.
passed out a minimum of 6 times. He went south.
How could he pass out and then just come through quickly? You know what I mean?
He fell out, and it wasn't a fake fall. And no one was watching.
Okay, nobody told me that. Nobody told me that he fell. Nobody told me that.
You get what's called orthostatic hypotension, meaning that if you lay down, your pressure's fine. If you stand up, your pressure drops. When that happens, you get dizzy and you fall over. Again, demonstrated in room 8.
He was making a ruckus. She looked up, and then he just fell back, sort of kind of to the side. He didn't gracefully slump to the floor. He just crashed right over. And she watched and turned around and went right back to what she was doing. That was pretty upsetting too. There is nothing good about this.
In the video, there are people that we can see that are employees that they're concerned about him in the room,
Sure.
and they stated that he fell over in the room.
No, he didn't fall at all. Well, I didn't see that, and he never told me he fell. Neither did the other inmates say that he fell.
When I left, when I was walking and got right here to the sliders, I could hear there was other inmates in the room, and they were beating on the glass. They were like, "Please help him." I mean, I could hear them asking for them to help.
At all. He was lying between the 2 bunks. I don't know, maybe he thought that was the bed, or he just wanted to lie there. And the only reason I went there is because that gentleman, Mr. on the right-hand side, said, "Move him because he stinks. We don't want him here."
When they were complaining about being in his boat, it's because he'd be standing there and all of a sudden he'd just be boom, gone.
No. No, you don't pass out like that. No, I don't believe that.
It's on video, so he did.
Yeah,
He just passed out and came back.
It's pretty disturbing.
He'd be out for a little bit time, and then he'd wake up and then he'd kind of waffle over to his bunk. He was disoriented.
Does it show where he comes to the other guy's bunk?
That's right. He falls in it a couple times. We know it was noticed that he was falling out. Can I say that he was faking it or not? To me, it looked real, and I've seen a lot of people fake it.
I don't remember anybody tell me he fell. No. Or that he was bleeding, or that he was vomiting, or anything like that.
Did any of the nurses say that he fell?
No,
to you?
not to me. No, not to me at all.
Somebody should have gotten up, gone over when he fainted. They should have checked his vital signs, they should have checked his blood sugar, and they should have called an ambulance.
I'm just having a hard time recalling that no one stated his medical emergency to you that.
And even the deputy at one point in time asked her, do I need to bring him out, Annalene? And she said, no, he's fine.
and think about this, where, you know, while you're sitting at the computer, you're telling me that no one made a comment to you about him not being able to breathe.
No, I promise you, nobody. Nobody.
Okay.
I'm not lying, I promise you.
Okay. The nurses that were in the infirmary, assigned out to the infirmary, nurses, techs, whatever they were, did any of those say what
To me,
yes,
that he
to
couldn't
you
breathe?
that he needed to be checked because he could not
No.
breathe? You don't recall
No, I
that?
don't recall that. No, not at all. No.
When I was at the computer or whatever, he rang the bell and he said that he couldn't breathe.
Okay.
And so I informed the charge nurse. I'm the secretary, the unit secretary.
Right.
I informed the charge nurse that he stated that he was under distress.
And the charge nurse is
Analene
Visser. Okay.
He just kept saying, help me, help me. He did state that he could not breathe.
Repeatedly asking for help and that he could not breathe.
Yeah.
Me and the secretary, Tiana, both asked the charge nurse, Annalene, you know, hey, he's asking for help, can we help?
Yeah.
She said no.
And I kept saying, Annalene, he needs help, he needs help. And then the tech also said, you know, pop the door, let's just go get his vitals or whatever. He's okay. He's just, his oxygen level was such and such.
Didn't even make eye contact. She just kept looking forward.
She never even looked over to...
You can hear him.
Okay.
So once he banged on the door, he fell back because I'm assuming he couldn't breathe.
So you saw him fall back?
I saw him fall back.
Onto the floor and crawled to the window and was asking again, begging for help, and they could not breathe.
So then he gets back up and he falls back on another person's bed.
Okay.
So they drag him back to his bed.
He had fell on other inmates' beds just because he was stumbling.
Right.
It wasn't that he was doing anything,
Right.
bad. He just couldn't stand up.
And then he gets up again, I'm assuming now because he's really scared. And he falls back into the shower. He's like, oh, like that into the shower.
And then he made his way back. He wasn't standing, but he made his way back to the window and was again asking. He said, please help me, I cannot breathe.
A change in level of consciousness is a huge indicator that there's something not right, and it's usually something fairly serious. Serious enough to call an ambulance, for sure.
Did anybody mention about taking his vitals to you? Do you remember that? When somebody said that to you?
No. Nobody said take his vitals. No.
Okay.
And I said, get him out. I said, he said he cannot breathe. I said, if you'll just pull him out, I'll check his vitals, if anything. Just get him out. She gets up from her computer and comes behind the secretary's desk, which is not even close to the cell, and just looks. And she grabbed the paper from the night before. And she said, he's fine. He was sitting at 97%, which that was vitals from the night before.
Do you know what his oxygen level was when he came in?
No.
You don't recall? Okay.
I don't recall that.
And I said, well, it was 97% maybe on night shift, but we need to know now.
You can go from 97% oxygen saturation to 30% in 2 minutes. So how she figured that was still good and didn't have to check him, I don't know. But I know that had they have checked him, they would have found he was in shock. There's no doubt in my mind.
I said, well, I haven't been doing this very long, but I didn't think opiate detox caused you not to be able to breathe. And I said, he says he cannot breathe. It's just that he just wants drugs.
So what's the protocol? If somebody said they can't breathe, what should you do?
Get him out.
Get him
check
out.
Yes.
Okay.
That is your job.
We still draw labs. We still check vitals.
He should have been taken to an exam room.
I'm telling you, if you examine that abdomen, you're going to find it's very tender. And that's not consistent with withdrawal. And we need to let the doctor know.
There's all kinds of bedside testing you can do in a jail. That's so simple.
Vitals would have indicated to you that something was wrong
That
with it.
his oxygen was low. His blood pressure would have been out of whack. If he felt like he couldn't breathe, we needed to find out why.
And they were never taken.
Well, we do all the vitals. We do it once in the morning and once at night. Unless they've got high blood pressure or there's some reason why we have to recheck it, then we do, no problem.
He was acting confused. He looked terrible. One would think that you'd want to get more information on this patient.
When was the last time his vitals were taken?
Listen, probably the night before. I think. I don't know when Yvette does it. I think they do it about, I don't know what time they do it at night.
Do they do blood pressure checks in the morning under shift? Did they do that with him before he left?
They did not check his, no, not before he left.
Okay.
One of the nurses asked if they wanted to check him before he went over, like get his vitals before he went over. And they were like, he'll be okay.
If he stayed, he would have had it done at 7:30.
For where you
He didn't make it to the vitals, which will be maybe 7:30. 7:30. Because he was moved at 7 o'clock, they moved him to the extension. But if he's disruptive, you can't, I don't go near them as far as vitals are concerned. Only for my
and I see the video and I didn't see the disruptive part, so. Just to be honest, I've yet to see him throughout the video acting out at all. The 2 hours you were here with him, did you see him acting out in any way?
No.
Fighting?
No.
Cursing?
No.
Screaming, yelling?
No.
Just,
he only asked for help.
He just wanted help?
He just wanted help.
Okay.
You could tell that his stomach was hurting.
So he was in pain?
Yes. He was moaning. He asked for an IV. He wanted to go to the hospital.
I want to go to the ER. You people don't.
So he was like screaming?
Yeah, he was shouting. Yeah, I want to go to the ER, and I don't know what else he was saying.
But did you ever hear him screaming and yelling in the room?
So he wasn't like disrespectful, cursing anyone, violent, just clearly in pain and just
aggravated because, yeah.
He was rowdy, he was loud.
Explain rowdy.
Okay. He was loud, he was, I don't know what he was saying. He was just disruptive, loud and shouting, and I can't remember exactly what he was saying.
So he wasn't being aggressive or anything?
No, he wasn't aggressive.
Yeah, and we watched the video and it didn't look like that, but I just want to make sure.
He did mention too during the night he wanted to go to the hospital.
That's why I asked her, look, I'll check his vitals. I believe that I feel like he needed help. He was being sincere.
And he wasn't being aggressive.
No.
You could look and see that the man could do you no harm. He was not able to do anything. In his case, surgery may have saved him. He should have never got to that point. He should have never been allowed to get that sick in a jail. That's just criminal.
When the guy's being disruptive and stuff, would that not cause you to read his chart to find out what's going on?
No.
From the video, from me looking at it, I mean, he looked like he was actual pain, faking or not, stuff.
Okay.
Did you already have your mindset that he was detoxing?
I knew he was detoxing, yes.
Did that change your mind as of being a medical or a true medical emergency? Because that's what it looks like is happening.
I don't know how to answer that.
I can almost guarantee at that point he was hypotensive, tachycardic, and hypoxic. If that was to happen in the ER, everyone would respond immediately.
He was still continually asking help. He was like, "You in the blue, can you please help me?" And it burns hot.
They would constantly at least look over the counter at him because the counter where the cell was directly across from them. I know they were quite annoyed because he was consistently hitting the intercom button.
What nurse did you tell that, like, hey, he's saying he needs to go to the hospital?
They all heard me. I know Annalene said he just wants to go to the hospital. He'll be okay. She was the one that said to put him on close ops.
When I got back, I said, "Why was he ever taken to the extension?" That's
Now, what's the extension?
It is more made for like unruly inmates.
Okay.
Ones that they're either psych patients for inmates that cannot get along with others, that have to be in there by themselves. They either fight deputies or fight other inmates. You know.
And when you saw him, he didn't display anything to be going to psych. To go to the extension.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
I felt like he was not feeling good. He was sick, and he was asking for help. I could not understand why he was moved to the extension. It was beyond me.
He was upset because he wanted to go to the ER. All along he wanted to go to the ER.
Well, kind of turned out that he probably needed to.
Maybe, but
There's no
they
baby.
all want to go to the ER.
Yeah, but
they really do.
I know, but in this case, there was no baby about it. He needed probably to go.
Well, only because he's died. Otherwise,
Well, that's
you know what I mean.
positive reason.
Okay, no.
Detention, Wilkerson.
Hi, do you have a pad open?
Yeah, technically.
I got an idiot over here playing games. He wants to go to the hospital.
Oh yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah, he's just playing around.
Who's the counselor? The counselor's not
Nobody's
open.
here. Nobody's here yet. And he doesn't usually come in until late.
Yeah.
So.
That motherfucker hockey.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
And then Major Harris came and they took him.
You can see clearly when Kevil was taken out of room 8, he was having a hard time standing up, again, probably because he was hypotensive at that point. Now, we don't really know what his vitals are because they were never checked.
He can't stand up because he's so weak.
No. Okay. Listen, he got up and walked to Marshall.
Right.
He got up and he walked to Marshall. He walked out of the door.
And then he lays on the ground.
Oh, he lay on the ground because he didn't want to get up.
Emmeline called for Sergeant Gordon to come and pick him up. They did come and got him out. He fell again and he was stating that he couldn't breathe.
He lay on the ground. Is that after he was cuffed or before he was cuffed? He didn't want to get up.
She's inaccurate. She's going to try to protect herself, of course, but I think the videos are just beautiful because they pretty much tell the story. And that last hour of his life is, I mean, there's nothing you can say that could justify them doing that to him. Nothing. They should have been there. They should have been on the floor, kneeling down, seeing what's going on, checking his vital signs, you know, and calling an ambulance. To sit in a chair and watch somebody on the floor and never even get up. And there were 2 RNs sitting right there. I cannot even fathom that. I would, if I were their manager and I had come on duty and found that out, I would have fired them both on the spot. Done, you're done. That's just not acceptable at all.
We sat him in a chair. He stood up. He tried to pull the stretcher that's in the infirmary. He stood up and tried to pull it, but it was locked, so we couldn't. So he pulled his chair up to it and laid his head down. He said he was tired. Sergeant Gordon backed him up and told him, and said, just sit still while they were figuring out what to do with him. The nurses were like, he just wants to go to the hospital, just close locks him. Sergeant Gordon had me call Major. Major ended up coming over.
I talked to Nurse Visser. I asked her if anything needed to be done medically. She said no.
He had pulled himself back up to the chair. He did that like 2, maybe 3 times. And Sergeant Gordon was like, do not do that again. Just sit still. So when he started screaming and hollering, they were like, we'll just put him over in the pad and watch him and see what's going on.
It's an ethical issue. I mean, we know what to do. Are we going to do it? Are we going to do the right thing? Or are we going to just ignore it?
And then he fell down again. Then they picked him up and put him in a wheelchair.
They actually had to pick him up, put him in a wheelchair, and rolled him to the extension.
Everybody's trained the same, and we all know what to do. It's run by the medical providers. They are the ones who set the standards, hire the nurses, hire the people, train the deputies, all under the mental health umbrella.
at that point, he's so hypoxic and is so hypotensive that he's completely disoriented at this point. He's demonstrating behaviors while laying on the floor of purposeless movements and confusion. And then we just watch a man die.
My auntie house is ashes, so I go to her house and just sit by the ashes. He don't like to express how he feeling, but deep down he hurt. But he don't like to cry But one time he just at my auntie house, and then he was just crying he was just crying. I had to talk with him. I was like, Kevil, don't do this. Just because they're gone don't mean you do bad stuff. Just come up, just don't do nothing because I don't want to lose you. So just don't do nothing crazy.
Because he's only 11 years old. So he's going to need my dad over time. When he hit puberty, 13 to 10 years, and
I worry most with him is depression and just holding it all in and just lashing at one time. Because I know I got like that for a minute, and it's not healthy. You start thinking suicide, you can't see your daddy, you can't talk to him, you can't get to him you want to. It's hard.
Yeah, because we gotta take big kid responsibilities. I gotta watch out for my little brother. If he doing something wrong, Kevil, don't do this. This not right. Daddy wouldn't like this. If he was here, you wouldn't be doing this. So don't do that while he not here.
I know it's gonna be hard for her because she's in high school, and her graduation coming up. He's not gonna be there. She playing basketball in the games. He's not gonna be there. So
every now and then, I just cry to myself. Just remember all the good times. Can't replace it. I still miss my dad though. I like to go back to be with him somewhere.
And it's to this day, I still don't think it's real. I still pick up my phone and say, let me call him.
I kind of want to talk to a therapist. I want me and my sister to do it, and my brother to talk about our feelings and stuff.
I just hope the people that was there and was in charge to get prosecuted to the fullest. That's it.
Just bring light to Cobb County Jail, how they treated them. It wasn't right.
Because money can't fix everything. That's not going to bring him back. So I just want them to, sit in jail or get their license took away or feel the pain that he felt, because nobody felt how he felt when he was feeling at that time.
It's not even about the money, no, it's just the justice. Y'all could have did more for him. It's just y'all didn't try to do nothing.
You, as a nurse, are there to protect that patient, especially in a jail. They don't have anyone else. There's no family there to help them. There's no outside influence. You're it. And everybody else treats them like an inmate. And the nurse needs to be the one person, and the doctors, that treat them like a patient and listen to them. And there was none of that happened that I could see.